Thank you for stopping by Luxuriously Poor, and I hope you find today's video helpful. And I would like to say that if you need wisdom on what to do for now or the future, this book is extremely helpful. I would like to start off by saying there are lots of things that frugal people, they just don't do it. But I'm only going to talk about a few of those things today. And this right here is one of the things. Frugal people in general do not buy a bunch of packets or several different packets to season their food with. It's just an added expense to the budget. And they're not really big on mixing the seasonings together, like taco seasoning. You see a lot of videos on this kind of thing where you can, they'll give you the recipe, their favorite recipe for taco seasoning or brown gravy that has a lot of artificial junk in it. And so it's not something in general we do. If we want gravy, we make it the old-fashioned way. We take the pan drippings and we take some water and flour and mix it and cook it, and gives you a delicious and wonderful beef gravy, chicken gravy, or turkey gravy, whatever kind of gravy you want. This is not something that we want to add to an expense of our grocery list. I do. I'm pretty frugal, and I stay away from this kind of stuff. I find it just another added expense to a grocery bill that I don't need. I can do without it. I'm not into a lot of pre-mixed things. Here's another thing. Cream of mushroom soups. Cream of mushroom soups have become famous because of the junk recipes that they have given over the years. I consider them junk recipes. They have given, like the famous green bean with cream of mushroom soup casserole. Your grandmother never made green beans that way in her life. But this was a way to sell you a product and tell you that this is really delicious and good for you, and it's not. And so then you've got people coming up with, well, you can make your own and it's much better and it's healthier for you. And all it is flour mixed with some water, maybe some milk in some cases, but cream soups are made with cream, period. And that's not cheap. And I don't do the green bean casserole deal. I don't buy this cream soups. I don't do the famous dressing one that they have with cream of chicken soup and stovetop stuffing. I don't mess with that stuff. It's just more added junk and more expense. And this is another one. Do your hamburger some favor. Don't add this to your meatloaf. This is nonsense. I mean, this stuff has sprouted soybeans or something in it. It's got even soy sauce in it. It's got things in it. I don't even know how to pronounce it or what it even is. So leave it out of your. Use natural. Your hamburger will love you for giving it just good old-fashioned garlic powder and some onion. Now this is another thing. Frugal people are not really into kitchen gadgets. They just don't. I don't use a toaster. I toast my bread in a skillet. Most people put butter on their bread to begin with. So put butter in your skillet and just toast your bread in a skillet. I just find it an extra expense. It's not necessary. And homemade bread tastes much better toasted in a skillet. Now this is another thing. It's just gadget after gadget after gadget. And women love gadgets. They really, really do. But I don't like them because they take up too much space and they're expensive. And I'm just not into air frying stuff. It just never made sense to me. Now, I have this crock pot. I will admit it. I got it at Target a few years ago. They had it on sale for $15. But that's the only thing I have. I don't mess with these highfalutin crock pots, with their highfalutin prices and supposedly can do all kinds of things. I like keeping it simple and basic. Now, I know we are all different. Some people maybe have a favorite crock pot that they just really, really love, and that's okay. If it really does what you want it to do, that's fine. But I'm just saying in general, frugal people don't spend money on that kind of thing. They stick with simplicity, old-fashioned simplicity. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, very few gadgets in their kitchen at all. They don't have space for it, you know? They don't have the money for it either. That's another thing. So they don't buy it. It's kind of like the coffee pots. They got all kinds. I just have the old-fashioned camping coffee pot. I've had it for over 30 years. Never had to replace it. But I know other people who've had to replace a lot of them. Now, this is another thing. A lot of people have everything under the sun when it comes to canning products. And that's okay. If that's what you want to do, canning is a wonderful thing. But there is something that I say, food saver. I think it's a waste of money. Let me explain why, okay? Now, before the food saver was invented, people who processed their own meat at home would wrap it in wax paper. I learned this trick from a man who hunted deer. He always wrapped his meat in wax paper, and he would cut his meat with a Sawzall. I didn't know how he did it, My first time I got ready to process meat, I wasn't sure what you used to cut it. I wasn't a professional, and he told me that. And I have always used the wax paper, and I think it works wonderfully. I've never had a problem with freezer burn at all. So the food saver, to me, I just don't think it's worth the money for those bags that you have to pay to, put your food in the freezer in them. It's very expensive. And most people aren't running around with a year's supply of meat. But I can tell you that I have had meat as much as 9 or 10 months in my freezer that has been wrapped in wax paper and put in Ziploc bags, and it has no freezer burn to it. But if you really love your food saver and you can afford it, like I say, different strokes for different folks, but not for frugal people.